was, $3,000 or $4,000. And, John said he's only expecting that to save us $5,000, so, and we're paying your time to do all that, Colin, and I know you're really crazy efficient. I agree 100% with Jim. If we can't pull the trigger on this in a timely fashion, we're actually costing the county more money.
Right.
So,
And the schedule wise.
yeah, but I mean, do you have any experience with a full soil test right now in this current market, what that would cost us as opposed to what it's gonna save us?
Yes, my most recent experience was about 18 months ago, project in Miles City. We did a full soils test, including rig drilling and lab analysis, and I think that was like $5,000, $3,000 to $5,000 for that test. So, yeah, again, I agree with Jim and with John and with Randy. However, to me, the biggest pressure is not only what Teresa mentioned, we're paying to coordinate this, we're not just paying for the test itself. But the second thing being schedule.
Yeah.
Because even if I could get a response from one of these other firms next week, and we get a proposal that you guys can review by next Friday, and then it's less than, it's within the $3,000 to $5,000 range, so we can approve it, that doesn't happen on site for another 2 weeks, and we don't get the results back. So since Jim is confident that the current footing design for those columns is probably more than adequate, I think my recommendation would be to proceed with that design.
If you guys are okay with that, I would like to do that, because John's saying we'll save $5,000 on his estimate with phase 2, but he's not factoring in all this administrative and communication time
And delay.
for Emery's time, my time, and the delay. And the longer this takes, the more it costs.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%.
And I just feel like we've got a great design. Jim's confident in it. I say proceed proceed as is.
Yeah, what Teresa says goes.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah,
Y'all are the
it'd be
boss,
Teresa's fault.
whatever.
It'd be both you guys' fault. No, I just was thinking about the schedule and so let's say you save between $5,000 and $2,000 on the footing. It's probably not worth it.
I have made an
Executive
executive decision based upon the information provided by Teresa Dooman.
I'll take responsibility. I have broad shoulders.
But for what it's worth, I wasn't aware we needed any more footings.
Yeah, so could we move to that, Emery? So I was glad to hear Bob say that because he's really studied the plan. And so in the OAC meeting this week, I felt like a denso because I was like, why are we talking about footings for phase 2?
Yeah.
Because I thought, John had told me that most of the members were gonna be, and Emery, you and I had talked about this, we felt like phase 2 was gonna be rip off the roof, fix, what's needed upstairs as far as members, and then put on a new roof. But it sounds like that I've missed some kind of communications, because that came as a real shock to me. And then Bob said that just a little bit ago, and I was like, I'm so glad to hear him say that. So could you sort of bring us up to speed as to how that happened?
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's because when we started talking about doing it in having 2 phases, because John wasn't comfortable producing an estimate and signing it for any more work than we were able to detail.
Right.
When we started the project, the response from the design team was, well, we have to have some more exploratory demolition done, and we have to do some of the leveling work before we can confidently give you those details, because we need to know what's going to fail, what's going to need to be replaced. So the phase 1 includes the permanent shoring, which gives us the base to work off of for the leveling work. It also makes the first floor assembly stronger for perpetuity. It includes repair of the floor joist as the floors are leveled, but it did not include replacement or repair of the major structural members. We all always knew that one column line would have to be replaced, and very likely 3 or 4 of the beams that go to that column, just because of the amount of water damage. So that was always forthcoming in the phase 2 project, and that's essentially what constitutes the phase 2 project is that structural repair, and then once it's all stable, replacing the roof over that back section of the building. What I did not pick up on, Teresa, although I remember now that Jim did say it once or twice during design, was that he would have to address the footings for that column that's being replaced. And since the investigation has shown water damage on just the bottom section of the adjacent column, unfortunately the structural code requires that where he is repairing or replacing, he has to evaluate the footings. Now, we assume that there are already footings for those columns. I think I sent an email
Yes.
on Wednesday. Yeah, and we have asked more than once, and we really do want John to do some exploration so that we know exactly what those footings are. But it's because of the size of those footings. You know, if our soil bearing capacity was normal, then the size of those footings would probably be no more than like a 4x4 or 5x5 reinforced, pad. But because our soil bearing capacity is so low, it's ended up turning into another strip footing. And we don't know what the existing footing is. It's probably like a little 3x3 by 1 foot thick thing. It might be smaller. They had a lot of faith in small pad footings back in the day, but yeah. So that's why there's new footings involved in the phase 2 work, because replacement of that column was not part of phase 1 work, only part of phase 2.
So let me summarize real briefly. So Emery, tell me if I'm wrong, but so what Emery would like John to do that we're waiting on is those major beams that are failing. We don't know what the footer is, so she wants them to do some exploratory what's there, because it could either be the footing has sunk, or it could be that the beam is so wet and soggy over the years it's compressed, right, Emery? Basically, and non-architect contractor.
The beam or the column?
The column.
Oh,
The column.
Alright.
So, so we gotta figure that out, and once we figure that out, Emery, would there be a chance that you don't have to put in a new footer if you're just replacing the column? And the footer has not failed?
I think the one that we are replacing, there will have to be some new concrete and rebar. Because we don't know the size of the existing footing, he's not sure. Right now, he's had to plan for worst case scenario, but in any case, we wouldn't be, hauling it away and removing it. It would just kind of get encased in the new footing.
Right.
It's not a
And
big
so-
issue. I would say, man, if you're taking that out of there, if you're looking at that column, you make certain that it's got a firm footing, no matter what.
Whatever it needs, okay.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, so to me, the phase 2 structural repair was a big mystery.
Yeah.
And so I didn't hear anything about footings, but I'm not panicking because, we'll see what it winds up being, but it was kind of a big unknown as to how much it might be.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
Well, and another comment, I agree with Mike, we don't want to set, we want whoever buys that building, we want high confidence that we've got a solid structural repair, but we don't wanna be stupid either. I mean, you can spend a lot of money really quick. And, but we'll see what you come up with. It needs to be evaluated by a structural engineer, but I think what I'm hearing is they'll do their exploratory to see to the extent of what the footing is actually doing, but they're probably gonna put in this continuous footing like the worst case scenario as unless they're really convinced they don't need to.
Correct. And again, this is why Jim and John were talking about getting an additional soil bearing capacity test.
right,
Because Jim has to design his footing to the soil bearing capacity number that he has. And so let's say if our soil bearing capacity from that initial test had come back in the normal range, and if the existing column already had a 3x3 footing, maybe that would be adequate, or maybe we would only have to expand that to be a 5x5 footing instead of doing a big long strip. But because the soil bearing capacity is so low, kind of regardless of what the existing footing is, Jim has to plan on a much more massive footing because he has to do what the numbers tell him.
Right,
I'm with you, but you know, I remember when we got those results that they were abnormally low, I was of the impression it was because of the wet conditions, but the guy told us, remember we talked to he said, no, moisture content wasn't what was driving that result. He said it wasn't high moisture content.
yeah, cause he actually, the soil guy actually didn't recommend the second test, and if he was wrong, and this is my hesitation, and I shared this in the OAC, if it is moisture, we just had a flood on the 28th,
Yeah.
and there was 2 ponds on each side of the soil that we're about to test. And so,
Yeah.
I mean, I just watched the way the soil water works around here, and I don't know that our investment and our delay is worth it, cause we may spend all this time and money and delay and not get different soil results.
I agree.
This town has had the same result from one end to the other, so.
The soils are bad,
Soils are
plan
not-
for good,
yeah.
foundations,
Yeah.
over plan.
Yeah, I know, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
cry about it unless I see the bill and
You cry easy.
then I'll cry.
Well, it'll
Well,
come out of our
The
commission.
only good news here is that Jim's design for the over-designed footing is already done.
Yeah,
Yeah, so we don't lose any time.
Right.
Or extra
There's no
money.
more design work if we just proceed with what we have.
right.
Yeah, that's probably, I agree, that's what we should do.
Okay, Emery, did we throw out the idea of building a temporary roof?
We've not talked about it formally yet.
Okay, but I saw in your face too, it looked like, there was a plan that wasn't a temporary roof, right? Did I read that correctly?
Correct, yes. Our phase 2 design is for, this is how the roof is gonna be and stay.
Yep, okay. All right, and are you happy with the extra shoring that he has upstairs? I guess you haven't seen it, but pictures.
Yes, so this is one of those things where I will tell you my opinion, but first I'm going to tell you that architects are professionally advised not to say anything about shoring.
Okay, then don't answer, it's
Really?
okay. I'll follow up with John.
So if you look at the design documents, there are 2 notes on the second floor.
Shoring as
Both-
needed.
Both of them have arrows going in all
Yeah.
directions,
Yeah.
and they say temporary shoring as required.
Yep, yep.
And so
I got
he
you.
had I would say my personal opinion is that there is adequate shoring for safety of the current job site. However, I believe John will need more shoring when he starts trying to move those floors.
Me too.
And he has the material on site for that, so I think he's planning on it.
Okay,
Okay.
For what it's worth,
Glad to
I
hear
talked to
that.
Jim Shelkey about that way back when I was estimating. And he said, you know, that's why he said he would rely on John's judgment because he has to do that leveling. And he said it's a little bit of art and science there, and so we'll see, you know.
okay. So Emery, one important thing that I think, we all know, and John self-proclaims is not great with paperwork. So if you could please, I think doing that footer exploration, I didn't know who was responsible for that. I saw that in an email, and so that was one of my questions is who's doing it and when. So if I didn't know, I bet you John doesn't know. So is there a way you can specifically ask him and Chris so that he knows we need that from him?
Let me ask you this, if we're gonna go ahead, no, never mind, I think I know the answer, but if we're gonna go ahead with the bigger footing, we don't need to explore it unless we think there's a really good chance that we won't have to go ahead with the bigger footing.
Yeah.
So I would I would follow
Right.
maybe Jim Schilke's or Jim and John's. In other words, I'm saying, well, you don't need to explore it if neither one of them thinks it's gonna result in a different.
Oh,
Are you following me on that?
Yes, and I would tend to agree. It would still be if John is the contractor who's going to do the work, it would be good information to have, but he's gonna find out either soon or late.
Oh, right,
if he does the
okay,
work.
so it's not timely now.
If you had a kind of a moderate to high confidence that it's gonna change the design and save you some money,
Okay,
but I think what we're kind of punting to is, well, let's just do the overkill design maybe and, move forward. But
Okay.
again, I would just, you might run that by John and see if they have a comment on what, if they think there's value to it.
Yeah, I will follow up with an email this afternoon. I'll pass what SKG Technical told me on to everybody. And then I will make sure that Jim and John, I'll kind of relay the content of our conversation and say that the county has decided not to pursue additional geotechnical testing. We're gonna pursue with the current footing design for phase 2. And so exploration of the existing footings is not required at this time. We'll find out what they are when John goes to prep for that new footing.
Unless they highly recommend the exploratory, but
Okay. Okay, I'm going to update my notes on the fee schedule and summary to fit Teresa's categories better, and send those emails regarding, geotech, so the whole team is up to date. Were there any other points you guys wanted to touch on?
yeah, so, I did send out an email, Emery, and I know you've been inundated, cause I know what I've sent you. The commissioners approved change order 2 verbally, and they'll vote on it next Friday. They'll vote on both change orders and sign them. So, but they would like to have what you provided for change order 3. They would like to have the email from you saying that you feel like it's, you deem it as fair and reasonably priced and you recommend it, and then sign it. And I think John hasn't signed it yet, because, Chris was gonna add all that detail to it and then send it to you. So if you could just send us all that, or just send us that approval statement from you, so the county has their due diligence. That's the one thing, and then the last thing I have is, I saw scuppers in the roof plan, but as far as the, stormwater drainage, is there gonna be a plan? Is that gonna be in that plan as well?
Our plan that we will have to you guys by next Tuesday for re-roofing portion, it will include, so currently our plan is to get the water off of the roof of the building, take it down gutters, and then kick it away from the building and use, temporary black corrugated drains to kind of take it the rest of the way to the alley. I've discussed with the team here at High Plains, that's essentially what we have to do in order to follow the, City of Roundup's direction on where to send stormwater. The alley is not designed to handle stormwater,
Right.
which I think we know. So when we review the plan next week, we can decide if we want to include in either the re-roofing scope, or maybe more likely, more appropriately, phase 2 construction scope, adding a little asphalt curb similar to what's already been done, just to guarantee that water that we dump into the alley stays on the alley. That's kind of a temporary measure, but unless and until the city of Roundup improves the alley, the best we can do is get all of the stormwater to the alley as far away from the building as we can.
yeah.
Well, as soon as I get those plans, we talked last Friday, I'd like to take it to the city. Because I do feel like this is part of the city's planning for these new requirements they're requiring building owners. And they did do that work for Bill Teason next door, so I feel like they're poised to do that work, so that they're doing it the way they want it done. And they're a team member in this project, so I think it's fair for us to pass on that request to them. So as soon as I get your plan, I was gonna share it with them, and then say, okay, we're gonna get it to the alley, but the alley is city property. So we need to, have them do it their ways, and so we don't create any
Step on any toes.
ill will or anything.
That's right.
Oh, okay.
So I
Let's just dump it on them.
I may call on you to virtually be present or something, Emery, if they have any questions. It usually takes them 2 or 3 meetings to approve things, so.
Okay,
But I'll get that going as soon as I get your plans.
okay, sounds good.
Alright.
And that'll be in the phase 2, you think? Written?
Well, phase 2 will include re-roofing approximately a third of the building. Like
Right.
the separate roof bidding package will include downspouts and gutters.
Okay.
And that's the one the county wants to bid separately, independently.
Yes.
So whether or not we recommend any work at the property line adjacent to the alley could go in either or both scopes. But if you're hoping that the county will, or the city will address it, then probably we just include our downspouts and our drainage to the alley in the bidding scope. Certainly for the re-roofing projects, and then I think the phase 2 projects will be well underway. We'll have our design pretty well completed by the time you start talking to the city about it. So it would likely go in the phase 2 scope, if anywhere.
Okay. All right, excellent. Thank you, Emery. I appreciate you being available.
Sure, thanks, I'm sorry this took a little bit longer than expected.
That's all right.
No, it's a very productive discussion as normal, and thanks for
Yeah.
taking the time to kind of review where we're at and, your eye to details appreciated.
Yes, it is.
Very much so.
Yes.
Have a great weekend, Emery.
You too.
All right, we'll see you.
Okay, 10 minutes. Let me just see what the most
No.
important things are.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I was gonna show you, Teresa, for what it's worth, what I thought their final bill would cost.
Do you have that in your budget?
I have it right here,
What is it?
$79,500.
Okay. That's just design.
That's all of it, that's all of their 5 categories plus their 3 supplemental services, but,
Right.
you said they spent 52? She said they're over, so we've got between 79 and 52, however much more they're gonna spend is where they might wind up.
Yeah. I'm in the wrong field. Okay, I did send you guys a revised schedule. I did ask John and Chris to update it.
Yep.
So they actually zoomed it in for you guys so you can see, what's still left.
I did see it, I saw October something or whatever.
Yeah, Emery had them add an extra week, cause she's
Okay.
looking at their schedule and their progress, and she's going, with this added work, she's not thinking, yeah, yeah. I'm not gonna say.
But if you think about that though, it's not that big of an issue if we can get
Phase 2.
working on the roof
Yes.
going and whatnot,
Yes.
so, okay.
So, and I've been talking to them for a month about, I want phase 2 to start as soon as phase 1 is over. That's why I'm so grateful to Bob that he's willing to do an independent estimate, because John wants to do a lump sum bid again, and he's not gonna have the detail that we want, and we were expecting that. So, if Bob's number is closest to his number, we can pull the trigger and be happy with
Yeah,
it.
just like we did with this 336,
Right. Right, so, I followed up with the insurance company, the insurance company, and I hadn't heard back from them. But I'm still hopeful that they'll cover Bulletin 2, which is change order 3, which is the 9,500. And hopefully if they do that, then we'll have a sound argument to secure the entire alley area with an additional, we'll just have to, I think it's worth, I'll talk to you guys about that as soon as I hear
Okay,
back from
okay.
the insurance company. I did talk to Ben right after last week's meeting about the insurance company that paid for the fire. They would not release the information to us. So they said they would if we subpoena them. So I went down and
Bless
asked
their hearts.
Ben,
You got a subpoena?
can we subpoena them? And he was against doing that. He actually said, why don't you just go have a conversation with Johnny Ray and ask him? And I said, okay, I will. But I would have hoped he would have volunteered that. because we were told that there was no damage with the fire.
Right, well.
Yeah, we didn't realize he got paid to,
He kinda wanted to get out of that building. So what did he tell you?
So I haven't gotten in touch
Oh,
with him
okay.
yet. So as soon as I do, I'll let you know, but I just wanna let you know what Ben
Mhm.
advised. Ben said, let's see if we can get it locally
Let's-
before we go
yeah,
into
yeah.
some kind, cause Ben seems to think we have to be in a lawsuit to ask to get subpoena
Typically you
information.
would.
it's really information that Johnny Ray did not disclose.
Yeah,
that
and
he
it
should have.
really should
It may have
have.
affected the purchase price of the building.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I will do my best to have a good conversation with him and find out what I can. I think we really discussed the design stuff. And Tetra Tech, I did submit a utilities reimbursement. What I did find out is the meter either wasn't working or they actually haven't used much water at all. So because there was all we've been paying is the base amount. We've been paying for sewer and water, or sewer and garbage pickup too, that we haven't been using. But we haven't been paying for any water usage. So basically the water that we've gotten so far has been free.
That's good.
But they suspected the reason, the guys came out yesterday and I met them down in the building and they said the meter's working fine, you probably just hadn't used enough to trigger it. So, and I have the water off right now at the valves, just so
Right.
if something happened, it wouldn't flood the building. So, we've asked for $1,011 in utility reimbursements for electricity from the hazmat cleanup guys. And as far as I know, they're fine with it. They asked to split July with the contractor that's in there, and the bill was actually for half of July, so it worked out perfect. So I did do that. And we'll leave it like that, because I think you guys gotta,
Well, excellent work. It's probably time to do another revisiting where I think we're at with this thing. You know, as far as the structural thing, not expecting footers. I had a big number in there for shoring, permanent temporary shoring and structural repair. And we'll see,
See where it comes
we'll
up.
see what comes out, because it was a big mystery at the time, so. But I hate these little surprises.
yeah, I do too. And that's not a little surprise. If you look at the phase 2 document and see what we're actually gonna replace, I don't think, there's not a lot in there we're gonna replace, but I was hoping that was already included in phase 1 was my understanding, and now it's not. So, but that's just really educational with this alternative delivery method. I really think it's overall the best approach, but I don't think it's more time effective and cost effective, like we were told at the beginning. And I'm gonna, once we get everything done, I'm gonna write them on my own time a formal letter saying,
Really?
be careful when you advise people with this method, because it is not more cost and time efficient. And I will provide them the reasoning. But
You know, we're dealing with this stuff, and honestly, when you think about kind of the mystery of what we got into, we've overcome a lot of things. And
We
I think
have.
we're shooting them
It's
down,
been
and I'm
constant.
not hearing anything that's making me go, oh my God,
Yeah.
right,
I think we're gonna be really close to what we thought it was gonna
I do too. I do too.
be. So, and within the time frame. I mean, obviously,
Yeah, time frame.
you know, we want it to be done earlier, but if we can get a new roof on there before the season flies,
That would be the.
we will have done what we wanted to do.
I know. So.
And that can happen, but a lot
It
has to
could.
happen for that.
One thing I did want us to tell you guys that I'm still holding Pay App 3, and John's very aware of it, and I've been asking for the invoices once a week. So I've had Pay App 3 for 2 weeks, and I told him I am not gonna submit it till I have my grant invoices. And so he did send me some that were not sufficient.
He's probably arguing my invoices should be good enough for your grants because I have a lump sum proposal.
No, he's having some Mid-Rivers issue with his scan, like with his whole computer system. He can't get them scanned. Chris doesn't have them physically, so he can't help us.
Oh, God.
So,
How much is his payout?
I don't even know.
I mean, to be holding up a path because somebody can get some help and
$70,000 or
scam.
something. But we're very clear, I followed
You
up